there's one more area that I find incredibly fascinating around agents. And we've talked about how agents can optimize leveraging things like contextual data. Well, I've had the privilege for the past 2 years of being on the LiveRamp board. And one of the things that LiveRamp is sitting on is this incredible set of clean rooms for some of the biggest brands and retailers in the world, integrated with all these amazing publishers. And they just released a product last week that I find fascinating. And what it does is it reaches down into, 15 different clean rooms and can pull out user-level metrics and produce incremental reach, frequency curves, all these things that we never thought we would get from walled gardens and different performance buckets, pulls it into a single place. And to me, this is the ad server for the walled garden era. We could actually take all this data together. Imagine if you could connect cross-media intelligence back into media agents. And so to talk about that a little bit, Scott, would you be willing to come out here and say a few words?
I will.
All right. Scott Howe, CEO of LiveRamp. Thank you, sir. Come on over.
All right.
We can sit and chat. All right. So first off, I'm sure I butchered the cross-media intelligence explanation. Tell us more.
Yeah, so the Holy Grail, and that's really what we're talking about here. And actually, let me just not even answer your question.
Okay, as usual.
Talk. So as long as I've been in the advertising industry, which is 30 years, I guess, there's one quote that we've all known about advertising. John Wanamaker, 1884, Philadelphia. I know that half my advertising's wasted, I just don't know which half. And as all of us can attest to, Wanamaker lied. He lied because the real number is in the high 90 percentile. And for 30 years, our industry has been making incremental progress against that. And so, is it 98%? Is it 95%? Is it 92%? Who cares? The vast majority of Clyde ad budgets are wasted. What does that mean? It means publishers don't maximize yield. And it means Shannon can't sell more cars and Coca-Cola can't get new users into their franchise. And so what happens if we could change all of that? Well, it is the most disruptive thing in the history of advertising. The most transformative thing in the history of advertising. Because instead of pray and spray and guess and gut feel and constant optimization, we can just start from the outcome that we're looking to achieve and just hit the button. But to do that, you need a few things. Number one, you need to have massive amounts of data. And we're not talking about the publicly available data that every single AI model is trained on. Because we all know that the most valuable data isn't sitting in the public domains. It's the deep viewership information that every CTV provider has. It is the CRM data that every advertiser has. It is the second-party data, and it's sets of third-party data that can be combined together in a moment in time to help me identify the perfect audience. But then with that, and this is where I answer your question, it's also what happened after the ad was shown. The cross-media intelligence, the ability to wire every single digital touch point in the world such that not only can we activate the right ad to the right user at the right place at the right time, all those things we've always talked about, but then figure out what happened and then optimize through that. And so, Brian, what did we come up with the name? Product marketing people, the thing we're building is called like real-time audiences. I'm going to call it the Holy Grail because it's the
Right.
thing that solves everything. And the other thing that almost seems to defy logic, like the Holy Grail, is the fact that Brian has told me, he looked me in the eye, and he said, this is launching in Q2. So we are signing up, alpha clients, and we are going to use the activations and the clean rooms because, to do this, not only do you need to have the activations, not only do you need to have access to data, but you better make it secure such that no one's proprietary algorithms become the public domain. So it requires clean rooms. Q2, I have never been more excited about a single product launch in the 30 years that I've been in this industry. And I've known Brian for a long time. I've known him to be an incredible developer. And Brian, I know you're going to rise to the occasion on this.
Well, I'm not doing it by myself. Thank goodness. I think just to put a little more context around that, if you looked at the demos we just showed, where we pulled information from search context, and then we ran algorithms on it to find the right price, doing that in the clean room context, you mentioned privacy, which is incredibly important, but there's also a lot of work that has to happen on the LiveRamp side to go do a lot of that work algorithmically inside the clean room. So this is not just a Scope3 project. We can take those outputs and go plumb them to all these cool places. But I think that idea of really thinking about what could AI do to take that massive data set and turn it into something we can leverage instead of a taxonomy. This is a much less, simplistic way of thinking about pulling insights. This is a way of actually connecting directly. And one thing I think is fun about it is we're going to find non-obvious things. If you expect to find categories, if you look at retail data and you say, well, I'm going to find what product is on what shelf. Well, sure, you're going to find that. You can find those shoppers. But can you find things that are beyond what's in the data? I think that's really interesting. What does it tell us about someone who buys mac and cheese and diapers and baby powder? I'm going to go for they have kids or some strange proclivities. And, just saying, shouldn't presume too much. But if you throw that into an AI, it will actually come back and tell you more or less what I just said. And that profile that we're pulling out of that is now something, and it's not putting people into rigorous buckets. It's something that we can now take to potentially non-endemic advertisers. There's a lot of folks who are trying to market to a mom or to a dad who's buying these things, and maybe that's Shannon. Maybe we just found one of those 4% of people who really needs to be in market for a new minivan because there's a life event that's happening that we found from grocery data, but that connects directly outside that data set. And so we're talking about really interesting connections that we can't drive without being both in the clean room and able to translate that through things like AI out into this world of activation.
Yeah, and I'll go back to the very first thing that you said, which I thought was incredibly interesting, and everyone should take note. You said, this isn't a Scope3 project. And what everyone should take note of there is it's an industry project. Like, this is something that the more people participate, the more collective good we can accomplish, the more of the waste we all displace. And it gets back to no single company, maybe Amazon accepted, but I don't think even they would agree as well, because they're an incredible collaborator. No single company has all the information to make a perfect decision. And so to make a perfect decision, you have to collaborate with the folks that have the information that complements what you have. The major publishers, the AI agents, AI destinations, emerging applications, and all of the fabulous advertisers in the world, each of whom owns a swim lane, but ultimately you benefit if you swim in the whole pool.
Yeah, I think that point is really obvious when you look at retail media, where retailers collaborating with brands and manufacturers has created a almost $200 billion industry that we didn't know existed because we're connecting those dots. And I think if you look at the not just collaboration of information, but of capabilities, you're seeing that we've been talking to Bob was up here a few minutes ago. Horizon's got this incredible AI project going on. They're building capabilities that we haven't seen before, and that's going to help us. They're not going to do everything. There's going to be a lot of different, whether it's Newton Research or some of the other startups we're seeing, that collaboration will unlock so much value.
Well, you mentioned the retail media networks. If I'm selling Coca-Cola, who's the first call I make to collaborate with to feed my model? It's probably Amazon. It's probably Albertsons. It's there are retailers who own the point of sale that know a heck of a lot more than me, having just introduced a new cola as a breakfast idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to Walmart just for scale, but you'll be able to buy Coca-Cola at all major retailers soon, I'm sure. It's a really, really well taken point. So as a last thought, you just kind of blew my mind. If you're telling me that advertising could be 10 times more effective, if we could get rid of that waste, what does that look like for a consumer, for a marketer, for a publisher?
It's just a completely different world. And, in some respects, we could look back in the last 30 years and one of the godfathers of programmatic. But if you think about what we've lived through, the advent of the ad networks, and we saw a 30% lift, and search, well, we saw a 50% lift, and programmatic, and that was another step. But we've hardly made a dent. And this is the big leap forward that a year from now, if we're not talking about a slew of campaigns that ran, that generated lifts in excess of 100%, and not just on return on ad sales. What I heard earlier is that doesn't help sell cars. But it is whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish with my campaign, that's the starting point. I want to sell 500 more flat screen TVs at Samsung in Seattle next week. What do I do? Boom. That's what this does. And so if you think about what that does to every element of the value chain, it changes everything. It changes how you plan a campaign, how you buy a campaign, how you optimize. And it expands what's possible, such that the CMO starts thinking completely differently about their job. The CMO starts, quite frankly, becoming the chief commerce officer.
I like it. All right. Thank you so much. Very insightful, and can't wait for our partnership. Announcing Q2, an amazing collaboration. Let's get working. Thank you very much.